Arcadians, a society renowned for their analytical precision and dietary efficiency, saw no need for such frivolities. Thus, when an Arcadian ambassador arrived at Glarp's greasy galley on the bustling space station of Omicron Perk 8, they found themselves in need of a polite term to describe the eclectic array of indulgent dishes. Not the kind of meal you plan to eat, but the one you crave at 3 a.m. would be an apt description. The galley was far from a dingy dive, it was more of a quirky haven where all beings, tired from their galactic endeavors, gathered to enjoy greasy delights. Glarp, a towering monosan with a penchant for deep-frying anything he could get his hands on, considered his establishment a respectable, if not entirely dignified, eatery. He ensured that rowdier elements found their thrills elsewhere, leaving his regulars to enjoy their meals in relative peace. As with any notable food joint, Glarp's galley boasted a lineup of regular patrons who frequented the establishment more for the camaraderie than the cuisine. A diverse group, they were united by the shared belief that their finest moments were spent savoring calories and debating the universe's mysteries over a heaping plate of fried comforts. An Archean, known for their needle-like limbs and tendency to speak with rapid clicks, deftly scooped up a bite of sizzling Martian cheese balls. I have to admit, they chirped, nodding toward the Quillian, a luminescent being sitting nearby. Your presence really elevates this place's atmosphere. The Quillian glowed softly, its bioluminescent skin casting a gentle light across the table. Thank you, it said with a warmth that only its kind could project. Known for their soothing presence, Quillians were often described by others as a comforting warmth in a cold galaxy. Naturally, many Quillians pursued careers as therapists or mediators, bringing peace wherever they went. Indeed, rumbled a Gromy from the dark corner of the room, shrouded in a heavy cloak as his kind always were. The Quillians gift us with harmony, it's their light that guides us through our darker days. With a swift motion, he raised his cup of something thick and frothy, casting shadows against his cloak's folds. The rest of the patrons lifted their various beverages in agreement, echoing the Gromy sentiment, save for the Zorian, who scowled at them from his seat, and the human, who was busy pilfering cheese-stuffed fungi off the Zorian's platter. Sorptions are the galaxy's true harbingers of tranquility, barked the Zorian, his voice a hoarse rasp due to his species' peculiar vocal cords. Sorptions belong to two distinct classes within their society, those who dared voice their grievances against the system and those permitted to continue existing. Though I must concede, the Zorian continued, casting a begrudging glance at the glowing Quillian, even your lesser qualities have their merits. The Naian, sporting a long curved beak, glanced up from his bowl of starchy roots. Query, he chirped. If Quillians are celebrated for their tranquility, what virtues do other species bestow upon the galaxy? Hypothesis, this line of inquiry might yield much amusement. He paused for a moment, studying his empty dish. Statement, I require more food. Glarp sauntered over to refill the Narian's bowl, prompting the Thene to take their cue. Humans supply us with endless culinary experiments, they declared, or at least our human does. Nah, interjected the human nonchalantly, stuffing more food into their mouth. We all had cuisine before we ever met Glarp, he just adds extra grease. Grease implies added value, corrected Glarp. For some, I just provide sustenance. He cast a familiar, meaningful glare at the human, who pointedly ignored it. Perhaps humanity's gift is their generosity, chuckled the Gromy. The human shook her head. No way. A generous soul wouldn't be so obsessed with food, she gestured to Glarp. I can't remember the last time he spoke about anything other than the cost of my meals. You have a tab, Glarp, rumbled back the Gromy, a large one. It needs settling occasionally. And I've settled it, Glarp replied, his voice a grumble, occasionally. More frequently would be preferable. I pay my tab 100% of the times that I pay it, the human quipped, then turned to the others. See what I mean? Avarice. Sheer avarice. Glarp simply growled in a resigned sort of way and returned to his griddle. The Quillian chuckled. Perhaps the human's great trait is stoicism in the face of the unalterable. I resent that, the human retorted, or I would if anyone other than you had said it. I'm not unalterable at all. I'd love to achieve an altered state, but Glarp's cooking is too greasy for that. Observation, said the Narian, your remarks support the Gromi's hypothesis. Your human is quite generous. How so? Asked the human. Clarification, the Gromi said, in spite of your words, your body remains free of Monan boot prints. Call it forbearance, then, the Gromi said. The human's gift to our galaxy is their merciful nature. Clarification, our conclusion is based upon a sample size of a single human, the Narian chimed in, prompting a round of laughter, or its nearest equivalent, from the whole group. Glarp did not join them. Humor was something he tolerated but never deliberately engaged in. The Gromi leaned forward, steepling his claws. The truth is apparent, he said, their great gift is veracity. None are more adept at discerning fact from fiction. Sorptions are the galaxy's paragons of integrity, retorted the Zorian, scowling. Sorptions are models of honesty and rectitude. His proclamation was so long-winded that the human managed to snag a few more fungi from his platter and take a swig from his drink. So what you're saying, mused the Thene, is that Sorptions are terrible liars? Not at all, the Zorian snapped. We are masters of deceit and duplicity while simultaneously being paragons of integrity. Of course, scoffed the human, waving her fork dismissively. Any contradictions in Zorian logic are for lesser beings to unravel. She stole a glance at the puzzled Zorian, whose expression was one of confusion as he blinked at his nearly empty plate. I'm going to have to dispute that, the human said, mostly to the Gromi. I think excessive truthfulness isn't much of a virtue. You dispute the truthfulness of the Narian, the Gromi asked, intrigued. No, the human replied, I dispute the idea that excessive honesty is a virtue. How so? Inquired the Narian. Okay, the human began, so imagine a scene in a Narian detective show. The detective asks the suspect, did you commit the crime, and the suspect just says, no, until they get to the one who says, yes. The Gromi rubbed his cowl. So you conclude that honesty isn't a virtue? No, the human replied. I think excessive honesty is a problem. Like suppose I'm hiding from a debt collector, and the collector comes in here and asks the Narian where I am, bam, Narian honesty just got me caught. That's a good point, mused the Thene, but I'm not sure it's a good example because I'd rat you out. Me too, agreed the Quillian, raising a glass. This one would gladly inform on you, the Gromi added, as the Zorian booted up his communicator. Does this collector have a name? He asked. His hypothetical, the human replied with a sigh. But that proves my point, excessive honesty can be problematic. The Thene's skeptical look was much like one would describe a fusion warhead as a thingy that goes bang. I think it demonstrates something more, like if you expect people to lie for you, maybe don't irritate them, the Thene said. Wise words, the Gromi acknowledged. Is that a Thene proverb? The human paused mid-bite. Wow, that's rude even for you, she said, pointing her fork at the Thene. You should apologize to them. Retract. What? The Gromi rumbled, offended. This one said nothing warranting retraction. The human shrugged. I guess you are that prejudiced. Hang on, said the Thene, wobbling its head. How am I the rude one here? See, the human continued, I told you excessive honesty is a problem. That's the lesson from today. An instructive tale, agreed the Gromi, steepling his claws again. I shall consider it when next I meditate. And I, added the Narian, shall consider what you imply regarding honesty. Inquiry, would it trouble you if I left my share of the bill with you? Oh, I'm a woman of my word, the human replied. I pay 100% of my debts whenever I get around to them. The Quillian chuckled. Your gift may indeed be generosity, it said, if only in spirit. Glarp returned to the table. Are you still here? He grumbled. I told you closing time is approaching. I'm still working on my meal, the human protested. You gave me such an enormous helping that I can't finish it in one sitting. Glarp grunted. More likely you're just stalling. Who, me, the human replied, making an exaggerated show of surprise. Yes, Glarp replied simply. Now finish your meal or I'm charging you by the minute. Fine, fine, said the human, waving him away. We'll all be out of here in a few minutes. I wouldn't be surprised, Glarp rumbled, if you'd said that a few hours ago. The other patrons, well aware of the human's notorious eating habits, chuckled in agreement. In the meantime, said the Gromy, raising his glass once more, let us celebrate the wonderful gifts each species brings to the galaxy. To our cosmic contributions, added the Quillian, glowing brighter than ever. Their voices mingled in a joyous chorus as the strange gathering of beings celebrated the simple joy of companionship. In that moment, as Glarp's galley echoed with good-natured laughter, the universe felt a bit warmer, a bit smaller, a bit more connected, a galaxy of flavors bound together by the shared pleasure of greasy delights and good company.